going to show you how to make this bracelet to match this ring that I made in my previous tutorials, along with these earrings. And this is the set so far. And this is a 7-inch bracelet. If you want to make it longer or shorter, you will have to adjust either the way you put your clasping on, the size of your clasping, or add another unit if you want to make it longer. Or of course you could subtract a unit. But this turns out to be right at 7 inches long. Let's go ahead and look at what we need for our, let me give you a close-up first, and then let's look at what we need for our materials. Okay, for this project, you will need a toggle clasp. Now, keep in mind the size of your toggle clasp will directly relate to the length of your bracelet. So I picked about a medium-sized one. Then you're going to need 15-0 seed beads, 11-0 seed beads. Both of mine are Toho. One is a metallic bronze. The other is galvanized gold tone starlight. And then you'll need a 4mm bicone. Mine is a Swarovski peach color. Then you'll need a 6mm round pearl. And this is also a Swarovski crystal pearl, and it's cream. You will also need several yards of 8 or 6 pound Fireline and a size 10 or 12 beading needle. Go ahead and put onto your needle a couple a couple wingspans of Fireline. Now, if you intend to extend your Fireline, remember that we're going to be using size 15 seed beads, so you have to make your extensions very tiny. Either that or just start with 2 wingspans. You still may need to extend your Fireline, but not as often. So go ahead and do that, and we'll get started. To start this project, we will do the same component that we did in the ring and the earrings. I will go ahead and do the component here because we will join each component together. As we make one, we'll finish and start another, and they will combine together as one unit. So we will go ahead and start with the same component. And to start that component, you will need to put on 4 6mm pearls with a series of 3 15-0s, an 11-0, and 3 15-0s in between each pearl. Start with a pearl and end with your 3 15-0s, 11-0, and 3 15-0s. And then leave yourself a couple inches tail. It doesn't have to be a real long tail. Just leave some so that you can hold on to it. This side is my tail. I'm going to bring my working thread side, this side, around, and I'm going to come up through the first pearl right here and pull it into a circle. And now we're going to sew around this entire circle to secure it. So I'm going to go into all of my beads that I just added and sew all the way around. Okay, so once you are exiting the pearl where your tail is, just go through past it, leave the tail on this side, and then go through the next 15-0 seed beads and the 11-0 and pull your thread through, and then again go through the next 3 15-0 seed beads and the pearl, and pull your thread through. We're just going to secure our loop that we created, our circle we created, by going through the next pearl and the seed beads in between them, and then into the next set of seed beads, exiting the 11-0 here. This just ensures that our circle is secure and won't fall apart as we do our next step. Our next step will be to create nets around each one of these pearls, joining the nets onto the piece through the 11-0s. So we will then pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, and then an 11-0, and then 3 15-0 seed beads, like this. We are coming out of this 11-0. We are going to go the same direction our thread is coming out of the 11-0, and then go into the next 11-0 right here and pull. And then again, you will do the same thing. You will pick up 3 11-0 or 15-0 seed beads and 11-0 and 3 15-0 seed beads. Like this. You're coming out of this 11-0. We're going to go into the next 11-0 here and pull. Bring the beads to the inside of the pearls, and then again pick up 3 15-0s and 11-0 and 3 15-0s. Go to the next 15-0 seed bead, or 11-0 seed bead, excuse me, like this, and pull a little net around the pearl, just like this. Turn your work and pick up another series of 3 15-0s, 11-0, 3 15-0s. You're coming out of this 11-0, go into the next 11-0, and the 3 15-0s and the 11-0 in the first net you created, just like this, and pull them through. And this is what you should have, a little star inside your pearls, just like this. Now just tighten so there's no slack, and then we will put pearls on the inside. So we'll pick up a 6mm pearl. We're coming out of this 11-0. We're going to go into the next 11-0 in the same direction our thread is coming out of the first bead, and pull. Just pull them gently. On this part, it can make the beads can look a little uneven, and that's okay. On our next step, we will even everything out. So if you get your 4 little pearls on and it's a little bobbly looking, that's okay. So we're coming out of this 11-0. We're going to go into the next 11-0. Pull the pearl down into place. Pick up another pearl. We're coming out of this 11-0. We're going to go into the next 11-0 and pull the pearl into place. Now they'll start to kind of puff up and dome up a little bit. That's okay. That's what we want. Pick up another. Go from this 11-0 to this 11-0 here, the first one we started in, and also go through the pearl and the next 11-0 like this, and pull the pearl into place. And this is what you should have. Now you will just travel around all of the beads you just added and secure them. So just go from 11-0 to pearl to 11-0 all the way around until you have completed the entire circle of pearls here. Pulling your thread tight. Once you have gotten all the way around, and go through the first pearl again and pull your thread through, and then go through the next 11-0 seed bead and poke your needle through to the back of your piece and turn your piece over like this. We will now create netting on the back to hold everything together. As you do this, you will work from seed bead to seed bead between the inside beads here. If you need to, you can pop them up like this, and we will have to pop the pearls back down when we turn the piece over. But I'm just going to kind of pop it up. I'm coming out of this little seed bead right here. I want to work into this seed bead here because my thread is coming out of this side. So I will do the same thing. I will pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, an 11-0 seed bead, and 3 15-0 seed beads. I'm coming out of this 11-0. I will go into the next 11-0. and I will pull my thread through. Then again, I will pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, and 11-0, and 3 15-0 seed beads. I'm coming out of this 11-0, I will go into the next 11-0 and pull my beads down. And then again, 3 15-0 seed beads, and 11-0, and 3 15-0 seed beads. I'm coming out of this side. I want to go into the next little guy here, so I'm going to push my pearls down and go into this 11-0. I have one more net to make, so I'm going to go from this bead to this bead, so I will pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, and 11-0, and 3 15-0s. I will come into the next 11-0. I will also go into the first 3 15-0s. If I can't get them all at once, then I will come back. I only got 2, so I will come back, get the next one, and the 11-0. I will pull my thread, and then I'll pop my beads back down. My pearls on the inside need to be pushed down like this. It's like this, so that you have all of your 11-0s on top of the pearls that you first added. Now we are going to go from 11-0 to 11-0, all 4 of the 11-0s, and pull these 4 nets together. So we'll go from this 11-0 to this 11-0, and I'll pull my thread through. Then I'll go to the next one and pull my thread through, and then to the next one and pull my thread through, and then into the first one again here. And now I will pull them all together like this. And then I will sew back through all 4 of them to tighten them. You can pick up more than one at a time if you'd like, that's fine. Try not to include any 15-0s in here as you do this. And if I did pick up one and you saw that, don't pick up one, because the film is under really high magnification. My eyes are not that magnified, so sometimes I'll pick up one, but don't do that, okay? So now let's go up through. We're coming out of this little 11-0 right here. We're going to go up through the little 15-0s right above it. Get all 3 of them. Pull your thread through. And then go into the 11-0 right on top of them and poke your thread through, or your needle through, to the front if you can. If you can't, that's okay, but then you'll just have to turn it over and bring it through. But just poke it through the 11-0 if you can. Come up through the front of your piece. Now I'm going to cut this tail off because all it does is get in my way. So I'm just going to cut it off. Like so. Now I'm coming out of this 11-0 here. I'm going to create more netting around these 4 inside beads here. So how we're going to do that is a little bit different, because we will pick up 4 15-0 seed beads instead of 3 on this one. So pick up 4 15-0s, an 11-0, and 4 15-0 seed beads. We're coming out of this 11-0, go into the next 11-0 here between the inside beads and pull. I'm going to back off just a little bit so I stay in frame, And we're going to do the same thing all the way around. 4 15-0 seed beads, and 11-0, and 4 15-0 seed beads. Coming out of this 11-0, we're going to go into the next 11-0 between the inside pearls here. And pull. And then again, you will pick up 4 11-0 seed beads, or 15-0 seed beads, then an 11-0, and then 4 15-0s. And then go from this 11-0 to this 11-0. And pull your thread through. And then one more time, you will do the same thing. 4 15-0 seed beads, they're just popping all over my mat. They're not going on my needle. 4 15-0 seed beads, and 11-0, and then 4 15-0 seed beads. We're coming out of this one. We're going to go into the next one. And then we will also gather up the 4 little 15-0s onto our needle too, if we can. If not, just get as many as you can. I got 3. I'll pull through. And then I'll go through my next 15-0 and my 11-0. So basically, you just want to travel up the 4 15-0s and exit the 11-0, just like this. Now we are going to start a crystal embellishment using the 11-0s and the pearls. To do that, you will pick up a 15-0 seed bead and then a 4mm bicone crystal. You're coming out of the top strand of 11-0 here. We want to go the same direction that our thread is coming out. So after I pick up my 15-0 and 4mm, I will go into the pearl on the same side as my thread is coming out, right here. And pull this down like this. And then again, I will pick up, this time, a bicone crystal first, and then a 15-0 seed bead onto my needle, like this. And I will come out of the pearl and into the 11-0 on the top strand, the inside pearls here, just like this. Then I will turn my piece, and I will now pick up a 15-0 and then a bicone, and I will go into the next pearl. And we will do this all the way around the piece. 15-0, well actually when you come out of the pearl, you need the bicone first, and then a 15-0. And then we will go into the 11-0. Again, we will pick up a 15-0 this time because we're coming out of the 11-0. Then we'll pick up a bicone and go into the pearl. As we're coming out of the pearl, we'll pick up a bicone first and then a 15-0 and go into the 11-0. And then again, we will pick up a 15-0 because we're coming out of the 11-0, and then we'll pick up a bicone and go into the pearl. Our very last one, we will pick up a bicone and then a 15-0 seed bead. And just go into the 11-0 and just the 11-0. Don't get the 15-0 on the other side, just like this. And now we will turn our piece to the side. I'm going to get a little closer so you can see what I'm going to do with this embellishment. Okay, so now we're coming out of the little 11-0 seed bead, and we're going to place a crystal here to take up the space. So we'll first pick up a 15-0 seed bead, and then a 4mm bicone crystal and a 15-0 seed bead. We're coming out of this side of this little 11-0 and the top strands. We're going to go into the bottom strand of our original circle and pick up the 11-0 on the same side we're exiting from the top bead. So we'll go into this bead here and just the 11-0. Try not to get any 15-0s. And then pull your crystal down into place, like this. Then, just kind of arrange the crystal, pick up a 15-0 seed bead, come back up through the crystal that you just added, and pull. And then pick up another 15-0 seed bead, and then come back through the 11-0 on top on the opposite side you started in. Just the 11-0, try not to pick up anything else, and pull. Arrange your crystal nicely into place. And then you're coming out of this 11-0 seed bead, you're going to go into the little 15-0 on top of the bicone crystal to the side here, right like this, the one attached to the pearl. Then you will come through this crystal, then go through the pearl you're attached to, right here, go up through the next bicone crystal and the 15-0 on top and the 11-0. Just like this. Oops. And then pick up a 15-0 seed bead, a bicone crystal, and a 15-0 seed bead. You're coming out of this side. You will go into the same side in the bottom strand of the 11-0 like this. Pull the crystal into place. Pick up another 15-0 seed bead. Come up through the crystal again. Arrange everything into place. Pick up another 15-0 and go back through the opposite side of the 11-0 on top that you started in. Pull your crystal into place. Pull your 15-0s into place. Make sure everything's nice and pretty. Then you're coming out of this 11-0. We're going to go down into the 15-0 and the crystal here. We're then going to travel into the pearl here, up the next 15 or 4mm bicone crystal and into the 11-0 on top of it. And then we will add another crystal. We will then sew back through exactly how we've been doing these ones and go into the next pearl and then place your, of course, come up into the 11-0, place your next two crystals, and we'll be back. I have put my last two crystals on, and I'm now coming out of this little 11-0 seed bead right here after putting on my last crystal, my last little 15-0. I'm now going to sew down into this 15-0 right here next to the 11-0 I'm coming out of, and then down through the bicone crystal right underneath it, like this, and pull my thread through. Then I'm going to come through the pearl right here. Now I'm going to make a connection so I can make my next unit. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to pick up 4 15-0 seed beads onto my needle, and then I will pick up an 11-0 seed bead and 4 more 15-0 seed beads. So this is what I have. And I'm coming out of this side of the pearl here. I'm going to go into the opposite side of the pearl and just bring my beads down around as I pull my thread through. Now, this is a connection, so I am going to sew back up through all of these beads that I just added. Go through all 4 of the 15-0s on one side, go through the 11-0, then go back through the pearl and tighten everything, just like that. Then we will go up through the 4 15-0 seed beads on the side we're exiting from the pearl. Then we'll come up through just the 11-0 seed bead, right here. Then you will pick up 4 15-0 seed beads and a 6mm round pearl onto your needle, maybe, and then 4 more 15-0 seed beads. This is what you should have. Then you're coming out of this side of this little 11-0, you're going to go into the opposite side of the 11-0 and pull the beads down until you have something that looks like this. Now, we are going to sew up through the 4 15-0 seed beads right next to the 11-0 we're coming out of, and then back into the purl. Now, because this is a connection, like I said, we're going to do that one more time. We're going to go down through these 4, through the 11-0, back up through the 4, and then back through the purl, just to secure it and make sure that it's strong and we won't have any issues with our thread breaking as someone wears the bracelet. So come back up through all of them, and then back through the purl. And this is what you should have. Now we're going to start our next unit. We're going to start our original circle that we work our unit through, and we're going to include this purl as one. So we'll pick up a series of 3 purls with our 15-0s and 11-0 seed beads in between each series. We will start with 3 15-0 seed beads and an 11-0, and then 3 15-0 seed beads on our needle, like this, and then we will pick up a purl and drop them down, and then we will do the same thing again. 3 15-0s, an 11-0, 3 15-0s, and a purl, and drop them down. And then again, 3 15-0s, an 11-0, and 3 15-0s, and drop them down. And a purl, and drop it down. And then one more set of 3 15-0s, an 11-0, and 3 15-0s. And drop those down. Now we will go back into the opposite side of the purl, right here, and pull the beads into a circle, like this. Now you will sew completely around this entire circle again, and then exit this 11-0 seed bead. After you have done that, then we will be back. So just start sewing up through all of your beads, like so, and continue until you're all the way around and exit this 11-0. Okay, so I have sewn all the way around, securing my new little circle, and now I am exiting this 11-0 seed bead, and I'm again going to start my unit just like I made my first one. So we will pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, an 11-0 seed bead, and 3 15-0 seed beads, and then we will go into the next 11-0 and pull the beads down, just like we did in the first unit. Now continue putting the little nets around the 4 purls until you're exiting this bead here again. You'll come all the way around putting your nets on, and then come up the 3 little 15-0s and exit this seed bead on top, and we will be back. Okay, so I have put all my little nets on. After I came through this last little 11-0 here to connect my last net, I went up the little 15-0 seed beads and exited the 11-0 on top here. And now I will add 4 of my 6mm round purls from 11-0 to 11-0, just like we did in the first unit. I'm cutting this unit short because there's plenty of footage between the earrings, the ring, and the first unit on this bracelet. So I'm not going to be really elaborate with the details on this one. If you need more guidance, just look at either one of look at the ring tutorial, or look at the first unit. Just rewind. So or back up your video. We don't rewind anymore. But anyway, so we're coming out of this one. We're going to go into the next one and put our pearl on. Put all 4 of your inside pearls on between the 11-0 seed beads, and then sew all the way through all of them again, and we'll be back. I put all my little beads on, then I went through all the 11-0s and the pearls again to secure them. I'm now coming out of the pearl here. I'm going to go down into my next 11-0 seed bead, and I'm going to push through the 11-0 through the back of the piece. I am then going to start netting around each one of the inside pearls. Now, like I said before, you can push your little piece up so that you can see your 11-0s better. And then you can arrange it when you're done with this part. So pick up 3 15-0s, and then an 11-0, and then 3 15-0s. Work from this seed bead, this 11-0 we're coming out of, into the next 11-0, skipping over the top of the pearl. Push your little netting to the inside, and then create another. From this 11-0 you're coming out here into the next one between the 2 beads here. So I'll have to pop it up so you can see it. And so put your netting on all of these little pearls on the inside. Travel up the 15-0s, exit the first 11-0 that you started in. Okay, so I have put on all 4 of my little nets over my inside beads on the back of my unit. I'm coming out of the 11-0 that I started in here, and now I'm going to pick up all 4 of the 11-0 seed beads in the center of each net, and I am going to pull them together like so. And once you have sewed through all 4 of them, pull them tight, cinch the center in, arrange your unit nicely, and then making sure that all your beads are back in place after popping them all over the place to get your nets on. Now, sew through it again. Then I want you to travel up. Once you come all the way around, I want you to travel up the 15-0 seed beads above the 11-0 you're exiting. And then you will go through the 11-0 on top of there and push your needle through the front of your piece. Okay, and we will be back. I have secured my center beads. I went up the 3 little 15-0s above the 11-0 I exited last. And then I'm going to go into this 11-0 seed bead here under the pearl. And I'm going to pull up through the top. Then I'm going to arrange my unit because I made it all sloppy when I was messing with it. Now we are going to put our little netting from this 11-0 to this 11-0, the 11-0s between the inside pearls. The change here, of course, is the 4 15-0s instead of 3. So pick up 4 15-0s and an 11-0 and 4 15-0s. And then you will go from this 11-0 to the next 11-0. And you will do that all the way around the piece. And now that I have put my netting around all 4 of my inside beads, I will then, I'm exiting this little 11-0 after putting my last net on. I will go up through the 15-0s next to my 11-0 that I'm exiting from, and then I will exit the next 11-0. And here we will again begin our crystal embellishments. I will do one. I will show you how to get to the next one. You will do all the rest, and then I will show you how to travel back around to start another unit. But first, we need to begin with a 15-0 seed bead. Now, as you're putting on this embellishment from the 11-0 to the pearl, when you're coming out the 11-0, you will pick up a 15-0, or if you're coming back into the 11-0, you'll pick up a 15-0. If you're coming through the pearl, you will want a crystal first. So we're coming out of the 11-0, we'll pick up a 15-0 and a bicone crystal, and then we'll go into the pearl. Here. Now I am coming out of the pearl. I will pick up a bicone crystal first, and then a 15-0 seed bead, and I will go from this pearl to the top strand 11-0. in the netting here. And we will do this all the way around the piece. And I thought I'd show you. Even though this pearl is connected to my next unit, I'm still going to do the same embellishment. I'm just going to ignore the fact that I have a connection here. So I'm coming out of the 11-0. I'm going to pick up a 15-0 and a bicone crystal, and I'm going to go through my pearl and exit it. And then I will do the same thing on the other side. So just because you have a connection doesn't mean that the embellishment changes at all. It does not. Then you will pick up a bicone crystal because you're coming out of the pearl, and then you'll pick up a 15-0 and go into the next 11-0. And you will work your way all the way around doing this. Okay, so I have put all my crystals connecting to my pearls in my top strand of netting. Now I'm coming out of this pearl right here after connecting my last crystal. I'm going to go up into the first crystal I put on and the 15-0 on top of it, and I'm going to exit the 11-0 on top of the 15-0 right here. And then I am now going to start placing the crystal that fills in the space here. So just like we did before, we will pick up a 15-0 seed bead, a crystal, and a 15-0 seed bead. We're coming out of this side of this little 11-0 in the top strand. We're going to go into the same side. I'm just turning my piece over. We're going to go into the same side of the 11-0 in the bottom strand and just the 11-0. If I can get my fingers arranged here. Right here. And exit the 11-0. And then we will pull the crystal down into place. Like so. And then we need to connect the other side of the crystal, so we'll pick up a 15-0. We'll go up through the little crystal, pull it into place, pick up another 15-0, and then we will come through, I'm turning my piece over, we'll come through the 11-0 on the opposite side that we started in, right like this. Now, I'm right next to my connection bead, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to do it just like I did my original unit. So I'm going to go through the little 15-0 on top of the crystal right next to the 11-0 where I'm exiting. I'm going to go into the 15-0 and the crystal. Then I'm going to go into the pearl that my crystal is attached to, right here. And then I'm going to come up through the crystal and the little 15-0 on top of it, just like this. Then I'm going to come through the 11-0, and I'm going to begin placing my next crystal in this little space. You'll work all the way around the unit doing this, and then we'll Okay, so I have put my little crystal embellishment, filling in the spaces between the first crystal embellishment, all the way around. Now, the thing that becomes obvious right away is that I'm over here. To start my next unit, I need to be right here, but my thread is coming out this direction. So I can't cross over, I can't go through my beads and come back through this one to get to this one. What I have to do is I'm exiting this 11-0 on top here from my last embellishment. I am going to just sew through the I'm going to sew through the 15-0 on top of this crystal here. And then I'm going to go through the crystal. Now, you can try to sew through this embellishment here. It's going to be very difficult because the beads are very tight. So you just need to make sure that you include the little 15-0s that you've just put on top of the crystals here, right here. Go from the 11-0, 15-0 into the crystal, then go into the pearl it's attaching to. And we're just going to sew through the crystal embellishment all the way around till we get to the bead we want to. This way we'll be following our original thread path. We won't have any tangles or showing threads or any issues trying to get through all these little seed beads we've already sewn through a million times. So now I'm coming out of this pearl. I'm going to go up into the crystal. I'm going to go into the crystal or the 15-0 on top of the crystal. And then into the 11-0 here, pull it through. Then I will go into the 15-0 on top of the next crystal, So basically it's just the little embellishment that we put on our first crystal embellishment. We'll go through it and the pearls we're attached to all the way around until we get to the pearl, the most opposite side here, where we can attach our next unit. So here I'm going through the pearl. I'm going to go up through the crystal, go through the 15-0 on top of it, go through the 11-0, just the 11-0. Then I will go through the crystal on top of the 15-0 in the crystal. Then I will go through the pearl. So wherever you end up, because as you put your embellishments on, you'll end up in different spots. Wherever you end up, you need to work all the way over to the most outside bead in a linear motion here, because we want to put our next unit in a line. So you'll find the next one in line to attach your next unit to and just sew to it. Go through the 15-0 on top of it. And the crystal. And now I am going to enter this pearl here. And this is the proper pearl I want to be in to start my next unit. And I will do that exactly the same way I did this. So we will pick up, let me back off a little bit. And people yell that my hand's in the way. Da, 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 da. So we'll pick up 4 15-0 seed beads and 11-0 and 4 15-0 seed beads. And then we're coming out of this side of the pearl. We'll go into the opposite side of the pearl, like so, just like this. Sew back up through, let me turn my piece over so I can get to it. I'm going to sew back up through all of these beads into my 11-0. I'll go through the 15-0s into the 11-0, into the next 15-0s, like so. Then I'll go back into my pearl. There's a 15-0 on the other side that blocks it. So I've gone through my pearl. Then I'm going to go back up through the 15-0s here. And then I'm going to exit this 11-0 on top. Now we will begin to attach our next circle, but we have to have a pearl to start in. So we will again pick up 4 15-0 seed beads and a pearl, and then 4 15-0 seed beads. And we're coming out of this side of our 11-0, we'll go into the other side. We will now sew back through this entire attachment. So let's go up through these 4 here, into our pearl, into our 4 here, back into the 4 on this side, until we are exiting our pearl again. So we'll be all reinforced and ready to start our next circle. Now, exit the pearl and begin another circle. So you'll pick up 3 15-0 seed beads and 11-0, 3 15-0 seed beads and a pearl. And you'll repeat that until you have 3 more pearls on your unit. Altogether, counting this one, you'll have 4 with your 15-0s and your 11-0s in between. You will then begin your netting and continue with the entire unit. And you will do this until you have 6 units. And we will be back. Okay, so I have made my 6 units, and now I am coming out of this pearl on the end here. So wherever you exit, make sure that you sew around until you come through the pearl, just like you would if you were going to add another unit. So once you've sewed around and you're exiting your purl, then we are going to add our clasping. I'm going to add this end of the toggle first, and on this end I'm going to add a little crystal just to give a little bit of room so that this will go through my round part of my toggle without a lot of issue. Whenever you have a really wide unit at the end of this type of toggle, it's kind of difficult to get it through the round end if you don't have enough room. So we're going to do this end a little bit differently than we'll do the round end. So we're going to pick up 4 15-0 seed beads, and then we're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead and a crystal, like this. Then we are going to pick up let's pick up an 11-0 seed bead, like this. So we've got 4 15-0s, an 11-0, a crystal, and an 11-0. Then we're going to go through our toggle. Then we will go through the 11-0, the crystal, and the 11-0, just like this, and just pull everything down and snug it up a little bit, like that. Now we're going to pick up 4 more 15-0 seed beads, and we're going to go through the opposite side of the purl here and pull everything down. Now we're going to sew back up through this a couple of times just to make sure it's nice and secure. So I am going to go up through the 4 15-0s, the 11-0, the crystal, the 11-0. I will go, pull my thread through. I will go through my toggle, and then I will come back through the 11-0, the crystal, and the 4 15-0s underneath it. Get all of them. I didn't get all of them. And then I'll go back through the purl. Sew back through this, all of this one more time, and then we will be back. So just go through the whole entire thing like we just did one more time. Okay, so I have secured my toggle end here. Now, let's get close so you can see what I'm going to do. I'm coming out of this purl here after securing everything. So I'm going to come up through the crystal that's attached to the purl here, right here. I am going to go through this 15-0 seed bead on top here of the crystal and the 11-0 next to it. Then I'm going to go into the 15-0 on top of the next crystal, down through the crystal, and I am going to go through this purl right here. And this is where I will be ready to start my next embellishment. But as you can see, my thread is really short, so I am going to extend my Fireline here. Now that I'm through all my little beads that have a lot of thread in them, I can extend my Fireline and not run the risk of not being able to pull my knot through. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I have extended my Fireline. Now, if you do not know how to do this, it's not just tying a knot. It involves a little bit more than that. Look online on YouTube and look for Joining Fireline for Bead Weaving and watch that video. I also show it in several of my videos. But basically, you just tie a square knot, melt the ends of your Fireline with a lighter, little tiny blobs, and then pull the two ends of the knot together. And this is what you end up with, is a little tiny joint that's really, really strong, that does not break, and that can slide through your beads. So, anyway, once I've done that, I'm going to begin an embellishment from purl to purl, just to kind of join everything together and give it a little stability and a little bit more sparkle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, and then I'm going to pick up a bicone crystal, and then I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead and a purl, then an 11-0 seed bead, a bicone crystal, and an 11-0 seed bead, just like this. And we're coming out of this purl here, we're going to slide directly into the next unit, into the next purl, just like this. and pull it through. Now this is where my little knot is, so I'm going to pull a little harder right there. And then we will do that again. We will pick up an 11-0 seed bead, a bicone crystal, an 11-0 seed bead, a pearl, an 11-0 seed bead, a bicone crystal, and an 11-0 seed bead. And we're coming out of this pearl, we're going to go directly into the next pearl and pull like this. And we're going to do this the entire length of the bracelet. When we get to the very last pearl, we'll be back. Okay, so I have finished putting my embellishment on. I am now coming out of this last pearl after putting my last little embellishment on. Now I'm going to slide up this bicone crystal right above where I'm coming out of my pearl and the little 15-0 on top of it here. Get just a little closer here. And then pull up through these beads. And then I'm going to go up through this 11-0 here. Then I'm going to go down into the 15-0 on top of the last crystal here and go through the crystal. And then I'm going to go through the pearl right here. And I'm going to add the round part of my toggle clasp. Make sure that your embellishment, it doesn't have any slack, but don't pull it incredibly tight because you don't want it to bunch. Just make sure that there's no slack in your embellishment. You can't see any thread. Then you will pick up 4 of your 15-0 seed beads again and an 11-0 seed bead, and then your round toggle here. We're not going to add the crystal part on this side because it will make my bracelet too long, and also it's just not necessary. Now if you want your bracelet to be just a little bit longer, then go ahead and do that. But it's falling through my hole here. Pull it down like this, okay? And then you're going to go back into the 11-0 seed bead here. And then just hold on to the thread with your thumb and your forefinger and pull it down so that your 11-0 doesn't slide up through the toggle clasp. You just want it to be right beneath it, like this. Just like that. Then pick up 4 more of your 15-0 seed beads and go through the opposite side of your pearl, like this. Nope, there's a tie for my shirt. Okay, so now you're going to sew up through all of this again and twice, and then once you've done that twice, you'll be exiting on this side again, and we'll be back. Okay, so I have secured my clasp, and now I'm coming out of the crystal right here, or out of the pearl after securing my clasp. I'm going to go up into the crystal right above where I'm coming out of the pearl, and the 15-0 on top of it right here, and pull my thread through. Then I'm going to go through the 11-0 right next to the 15-0 here, and pull my thread through and get it tangled on everything on my table, and then go into the 15-0 in the crystal. And this little piece of thread right here is just where I cut my original tail off. I can burn that down when I'm all through. I'm going to come through this crystal here, then I'm going to come through the pearl. And now that I am coming through this pearl here, I am ready to start my next embellishments all the way down this side. So we're going to pick up an 11-0, a bicone crystal, an 11-0, a pearl, an 11-0, a bicone crystal, and an 11-0. I'm coming out of the pearl here. I'm just going to go into the very next pearl in the next unit. and pull all this stuff down like so. And we will continue this all the way to the end of our bracelet. Okay, so I have finished my embellishment all the way on this side. Now I am coming out of the pearl after doing my last embellishment. I am again going to go up into the bicone crystal right above the pearl through the 15-0 and the 11-0 on top. And then I will go down, I will make sure my embellishment doesn't have any slack. I will go down into the 15-0, right next to the 11-0 I'm in, and into the crystal here, just like this, through the end pearl here where my embellishment is attached, or where my clasp is attached, I mean. And as I pull through here, I'm going to make sure that my embellishment is nice and there's no slack. And then I'm going to grab a half hitch knot on this thread bridge right here where my clasping is going through. I'm going to make sure that my thread is pulled nice. I'm going to grab my knot and pull it down, and then I'm going to go down through the crystal here and the 15-0, go through the 11-0 again and the 15-0 here, down through my crystal again, I will grab another half hitch knot here, making sure that it goes down between my beads, and then I will sew down into my embellishment. So I'm going to go through this pearl here, and I will just sew through these beads in my embellishment a ways down, probably to the next pearl here that's attached to my unit. Now let me pull through here, I can't get through. Run out of needle. Now go into here and into my 11-0 here. Pull my thread through. See if I can get through this pearl here. And I will grab another knot here. I'll sew down through a few more beads, and then I'll just cut my thread off. And then I'll burn the ends down where my tail was and where this one ends. Down through here. Just a few more beads. And I'll probably go through this pearl too. And I'll exit out the back here. And you can see how pretty the back turns out too with all that nice netting. And then it gives it a really nice finished look. And then I'm going to cut my thread down. And I'm going to grab my lighter and I'm going to burn this little tail into a blob and tuck it in. And then see if my tail here, see if I can get my little thread blob to sit down there. And that's what it looks like. I will put it on, but first let me show you what the rest of the set looks like with it. There's an earring, and there's the ring, and there's the other earring, like so. And I'll probably make a necklace next, but I'm not making any huge promises, but I probably will. Now I'm going to put on the set and show you what it looks like. I'll be right back. Okay, so this is what it looks like on. Let me move those little earrings. This is what our clasping looks like here. And that's what the ring and the bracelet look like together. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you again soon. Be creative. Bye-bye.